I'm a Celebrity starts tonight, as I'm sure you know. Now, it is obviously, this is on the back of David Cameron returning to government, Rishi Sunak's Rwanda plan falling apart, and Nigel Farage, who I think is one of the best political operators we've ever seen in this country, is on the other side of the world as he prepares for his Bush-Tucker trial. Some people, and there's an op-ed in The Spectator saying that this is a really bad idea for Nigel Farage, that his timing is completely wrong. Now, I'm not sure I agree with that. I think his timing is entirely correct.
He didn't really have much choice over that, did
No, he didn't. He didn't indeed. So in justifying his decision to go to this reality show, he said, "I'm hoping those who hate me might hate me a little bit less afterwards." He did say that his appearance is a gamble. He said, "I have been a little bit demonised, and the idea that somehow the things I represent, mean-spirited, small-minded, nasty, the little Englander, all those accusations that have been flung at me over the years just aren't true. If we can dispel some of those misconceptions, then that will be a good thing." It goes on to talk about whether this is an image makeover for him. I think this is for people to understand more about what he stands for and the kind of person he is. But he has revealed that his health issues will prevent him from taking part in certain Bush-Tucker trials. I don't know if you remember, he was in a plane accident some years ago. He sustained some quite serious injuries as well. He got 2 chipped vertebrae, he had a punctured lung, he got a pneumothorax, he had several fractured ribs, a fractured sternum. So as a result of that, of course, he can't really lift heavy weights and things like that. I remember him being out of action for a very long time after that plane crash, and he very nearly died as a result of that plane crash. So we shall see. Now, obviously, his appearance on this show is rather controversial. That's what they try and do, is to have controversial contestants taking part. Now, alongside him are people like Jamie Lynn Spears.
I don't know who that is.
I don't. Josie Gibson from This Morning.
No idea.
Right. Marvin Humes.
Yes, I know him.
OK, good. And Fred Siriax, who I do know.
Oh, the matador, whatever they call them. Okay.
Yes, yes, indeed.
I quite like him, although I don't think he'll like Nigel.
Well, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? Well, joining us now is Carla Speight, who's a branding and PR expert. Good morning to you.
Morning.
I'm just fascinated. Thank you so much for coming on. It got me thinking about brand recognition. I mean, clearly Nigel is honorary president of Reform UK. Reform UK, and I would say this, wouldn't I, is doing well in the polls. It's gone from about 2 to 3%. It's now polling around 11%, 10, 11%, depending on the poll. It's third in some of those polls. It's overtaken the Liberal Democrats. Now, in terms of Nigel Farage, he obviously has been paid a lot of money to go into this, but do you think this is a Farage faux pas? Has he bitten off more than he can chew?
I think it's a big gamble for him. I mean, he admits that himself. You're fully exposed in the jungle, so if you go in with a game plan, then that's going to be exposed pretty quickly. We've seen it already from Jamie Lynn Spears, claiming that people know her as an actress and a singer when 99% of us recognise her surname.
Right.
So for Nigel, he's going to be fully exposed, and the country are going to see him hopefully for who he is rather than him going in with a game.
So and when you said for who he is, do you know him?
I don't know him personally, but I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see who he is. Because, for example, when Matt Hancock went in, he went in with a complete game, and it bit him on the backside. He went in with one sort of option to rebrand himself, if you like.
Yes, I would agree. And you're absolutely right in terms of you can't control the narrative here. That Renee and I talked about this earlier on, that everything you do is filmed. It's all in the edit. So it also depends how the producers want to portray people. Has he not got a point, though, that actually Brexit, that vote was a long time ago? There is a very strong course of support for Nigel Farage. Younger people don't know him. By golly, they will know him after doing this programme.
Yeah, definitely. I think what will be on side for him is the likes of Sam Thompson in there, who's very popular with the younger audience. And I think Sam's real innocence around life in general will be a bonus for Nigel. Because if Sam's interested in talking about politics or even the basics of what he's seen in the newspaper, Nigel's got a real opportunity to connect with people.
And you see, so this is the bit that I think is really fascinating, which is that obviously I've spent a lot of time with him. When we've been out and we've been in pubs together, people gravitate towards Nigel Farage. They like him. They come up. He treats them as a mate. He drinks beer. We know he likes, certainly in the past, has liked smoking and drinking, probably to excess. But people seem to warm to him, and I wonder whether he can convey that across the screen, or whether he will come across as being distant and detached from reality.
There's a real risk, given that recent news has been around his bank account and how much money he's got. That puts a lot of people in the cost of living crisis on the back foot. So he's going to have to put in some extra work to really connect with the campmates, especially the ones that you wouldn't expect him to connect with.
And just in terms of that, I'm just reading a message here from Paul in Northampton. David, I will not hate Farage less. I will hate him more. I detest him so much. So people have already made up their minds. How much can you change people's minds, do you think? I mean, if he's seen to be a good egg, he mucks in, he does those challenges. I don't quite know how it works, but you get points or whatever you get. My understanding is that they've been split. The campmates have been split. Some of them are in the jungle. He's in a scorching desert, thousands of miles away, as far as I can understand, with two other teammates. They're competing in a completely different environment. If he comes back and he's seemed to show allegiance, that he's a team player, that will play well for him, though, won't it?
Yeah, but I'm a big believer that politics doesn't belong in things like reality shows. I mean, what's next? Rishi Sunak on My Mum, Your Dad. It's a nonsense. If he
but to be fair to Nigel, Nigel is no longer an active politician. He is now a presenter on a rival channel to ours.
Yeah, there has been rumours swirling, though, that he's hoping to take the Reform Party further and step forward as some sort of a leader, whether it be for that or the Conservative Party.
Well, you'd have to ask Richard Tice about that, but who obviously is the current leader. But is there anything wrong with that? Because if he musters a following, if young people like him, if older people like him, decide that he's the man. We had a message earlier, didn't we, Dr. Renee, saying that actually if Nigel Farage was running this country, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in. Isn't there actually a real upside to this? I agree that it's a gamble, and I agree he can't control it, but at the same time, do you not think it could play in his favour?
If he connects properly with the campmates and shows he's sort of an everyman's man, then I think he's got a real chance to even sway the younger population who are not interested and disillusioned with voting and politics in general. I just feel that Nigel is going to be a bit like Marmite in the camp.
Yes, and just in terms, if you were advising him, what should he not do?
Whinge too much about his privilege, because he's already done it on the adverts where he said, "Oh, I like refined eating, I like fancy eating."
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
We're in a current cost of living crisis, so what he needs to be a bit more mindful of is the fact that he might dress his chips with truffle oil, but most families out there at the moment are struggling to buy cheap tomato sauce. So he's got to be able to hit that middle ground where it's the politics side of him needs to be able to sort of attach itself to the everyday problems.
And just interesting, Ray is countering what you're saying. He said, good morning, doctors. Good morning, Ray. I can't understand why Carla is saying I'm a celebrity, bit Matt Hancock on the bum. I'm no fan of his, but he did come third, which isn't too bad. So, in fact, Matt Hancock did turn it around.
I think so, too, until he came back across the bridge and everyone had sort of a flashback moment to the CCTV. The general consensus around Matt Hancock is, yes, he did well in the jungle because he mucked in, but the problem is that the inquiry's still going. There's still all these issues swirling around him that he's not been held accountable for. Had he have done the jungle afterwards, I think public opinion of him would have gone so much higher and he would have been in so much more favour. But he's still got a lot of issues around him, whereas Nigel's going in sort of clean slate. He is what he is and he is who he is, and he makes no apologies for that. So as he's not a current serving MP, he's not caused a massive stir around himself, he's got a real chance, whereas Matt kind of went in with it already hanging over him.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if he wins, he will be unbearable and he'll be rubbing all our faces in it after that. Carla, thank you very much indeed for your time. That's Carla Speight, branding and PR expert. Carla just said, actually, Renee, that he's a real Marmite character. Someone's just messaged me saying, I love Marmite.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like Marmite at the moment. I love Marmite, actually.
I like Marmite too, yeah. It's an acquired taste.